Hello everyone, this is the first time I've ever done something like this or uploaded a video before, but this video is going to be pertaining to Günther and Klaus Schwab. So I'm just going to get straight into this, starting with Günther Schwab. He was born on the 7th of October in 1904 in Prague, which was the then Austrian Empire, and now, of course, it's the Czech Republic. He was a former brown shirt, and, of course, he was a very dedicated member of the party back in 1930. But the biggest achievement, of course, is Günther finding the World League for the Protection of Life, which is what it was first known as before he changed it a couple of times, the naming. And then eventually, of course, he changed it to the World Union for the Protection of Life. But nonetheless, the vision was always the same. It was fueled by social Darwinism, very, very biased outlook on genetics, and basically it leading out into the more Aryan biased kind of leaning side of his perspectives on what would a superior being be. Of course, there are other reasons for this, which I'll get into probably some other video where I go into why Ukraine is so prevalent, and Indo-Aryans, and as well as the ancient Sumerian tablets that were found in Ukraine as well. So ancient Ukraine has a lot of historical significance and a lot of secrets for that matter too. I'll get into the DOJ and why they're so interested in the Epic of Gilgamesh and trying to piece all of that together. But anyway, back to this. So, of course, they have this very strong leaning towards an Aryan bias eugenics measure. And given just the pushback and all the racism that was fueling the motivations that eventually surfaced, he had to keep switching gears, switching company names, and then eventually he masked the agenda using ecology and pursuing a socialist green movement to justify, get the odds to justify the means, essentially. So, of course, he took some factors and put them all together and said, hey, look, I can use this mask to facade my agenda. I can use this to my advantage to really get my agenda moving forward and fool a bunch of people into buying this and even adopting socialism and its base principles as well. And socialism is a great platform for totalitarianism in many respects and regards. And I know a lot of people will argue with me on that, and I don't have time for that. I'll get more into that in other videos, but right now I just want to stick to this. So anyway, long story short, this was his plan, and of course to bring on the Fourth Reich, or the Fourth Realm. So moving on to the World Union for the Protection of Life. Günther died around 2006, but of course he made great headway in bringing about the Fourth Reich. This organization he created is an international non-profit organization, non-governmental organization, which was founded in 1958, Salzburg. The concept protection of life, quote unquote, is considered to be different from the protection of the environment, as it has been used by United Nations Environmental Program, though that organization was founded as a result of the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment in 1972. So basically, he was able to come into the United States around the 1960s and actually make really great headway in the United States as far as getting this agenda moving forward. He did it very well, and he was very cunning at persuading these people into buying into this. And of course, he met a lot of malevolent people along the way and convince them to do the same so they can move forward with their own agendas. And, I'll get into the Zionists and other players into this whole ball game later, but right now I just want to stick to something that really piques my curiosity, which is this, because this is more of a recent discovery that I've made. So Günther is a known author of the screenplay of the movie The Forester of the Silver Wood, which I haven't watched, but I probably will. And I started discovering the connection between the World Economic Forum and the World Union for the Protection of Life, which is where my next thing comes in. Of course, I'm just going to finish what's written here. Günther started to set up the organization with the name World Union for Saving of Life, which was then registered to the World Union Protection of Life 2 years later. Soon activated branches in more than 30 countries all over the world. And guess what? They're still open. They're still running to this day. Their logo right here, 2014. That's their logo at the bottom, right-hand corner. They are still open, they are still running, and they are still operational. And I'll give you updates on them and what they're doing as I do more research on this recent discovery I made. Moving on to Klaus Martin Schwab, who was born on the 30th of March, 1938. And he is a German engineer and economist, amongst other things, of course. And he'll have you believe that he's some Swedish guy who's barely survived by the skin of his teeth from the evil Nazis, So he makes up a whole ridiculous story that I don't buy at all, but I'll get into that in a second. In 1971, he founded what was to become the World Economic Forum, where he currently serves as an executive chairman, where he brings in a salary of
$1 million.
Anyway, I'm not even going to read this story over here that he made up, in my opinion, and told those Wiki writers to put in for him, swung him some cash. And of course, he brought his children in on this as well. One of them is a co-founder of a gender equality project. So I'll get into why George Soros specifically is very important in this whole agenda that's being pushed by the ideological left-leaning types, the Marxist types, or the neo-Marxist types, should I say, and all those people of that nature. They play a big role in this, and those are, that's Klaus Schwab's best friend. This goes over into his education. He has a mechanical engineering degree in the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, and he was awarded his doctorates of economics as well from the JFK School of Government at Harvard University. So, of course, he is a very educated and tenured individual, and his background in economics has, of course, served him well in global supremacy. Of course, I'm going to quickly skip over a lot of this, but, he gets into a lot of strange things, where WEF data predicts that by 2025, we will see commercial use of nanomaterials 200 times stronger than steel and 1 million times thinner than human hair. The first transplant of a 3D printed liver. 10% of all cars on the U.S. roads will be driverless. Okay, so this is his reign into controlling people. And I'm going to get into another individual who sickens me, Yuval Harari. I am going to really go deep into that individual. That requires a separate video of itself, but he gets big into gene editing and post-humanism, transhumanism, and a lot of biotechnology, mumbo-jumbo. I only say it like that because I have a background in science, and I read a lot of this stuff, and it's just so funny to me. A lot of it is like a huge farce that they play on like pseudo-intellectuals. And I see how they brainwash a lot of these pseudo-intellectuals into buying into their priesthood. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting thing that Yuval Harari does. He's the biggest snake oil salesman I've ever seen before, but he's just cohorting as many intellectuals to support the WEF's agenda as possible by promising them that they will soon have technology to be able to edit their genes as they're alive, as they stand now, and transmutate them into perfection. You know, you can turn shit to gold, apparently, with these guys. You know, it's insane. The farces that they put on to buy people into this. And it's working so well. I mean, especially towards the gullible, ideological left-wing type. Now, of course, this isn't to say that Klaus Schwab here is related to Günther Schwab. I do want to say that outright here. But I do want to also show you that there is some evidence out there that does prove that Klaus Schwab's parents were indeed related to Nazis, right? So there's even more evidence of that. I'm going to leave some links in the bio for that, for you guys to kind of look into. I'm just going over it real quick here. You know, and show you, of course, where this whole ideology of stakeholder capitalism comes into play, and how that's, you know, directly in correlation with the socialist architecture of the Nazi regime at the time. So there's a lot to go and get into with that, but you know, certainly there's a lot of evidence out there pointing towards this. So thank you for watching, everyone, and I hope to be making more videos in the future. And sorry this is so long, but there's just so much to cover. Thank you.